The issue of rape in our society these days has become so challenging and is becoming too alarming, and it's something that we need to sit down and iron out. It's something that we need to find a solution to it, because rape is not allowed in our society. I'm your regular host, Onigbinde Raphael. Ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to Talking Point Show. I have experts on the show today to discuss the effects of rape in our society. By my left, I have Barrister Gladys. Barrister, you are welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I also have Barrister Gani Osana. You are welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
On my right, I have Mrs. Udeme. You are welcome to the show, ma.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, ma, let me put this to you. What is rape?
Well, rape is when someone is forcefully, when you have a forceful sex with somebody against his or her will, whether it's a man or a woman.
Okay.
That's
Barrister Gani, do you have addition to that?
Yes. In addition to that, from the legal standpoint, rape is said to be simply non-consensual intercourse. I will also add deliberate. All right, so it's a deliberate non-consensual sexual intercourse. Maybe when we are breaking it down, we will break down what all of these things mean.
Okay.
But technically, in law, that's what it is.
Okay, thank you very much. What do you think are the causes of rape? What do you think instigates someone to want to rape?
Well, that's not a legal question, I must say. I was fortunate to handle some few cases on this issue, just few, and I would like to say man or humans have a way of misbehaving always, and that's why the law is always there, to check the excesses, to ensure that people do what is expected. People give a lot of reasons for rape. First, people say it's the devil. Right. Secondly, people give reasons relating to indecent dressing. People give reasons related to arousals and many other things that you might not see as important or relevant, but people give a lot of frivolous reasons and excuses.
Barrister Gladys, this is not a medical question, but still on that, as a female, what do you think can actually make someone to feel like I need to rape this person? Rape is also between, it can be from the male to the female, it can also be from the female to the male.
So I think the first thing, cause of rape is lack of self-control, because we are all humans. We have that inner voice that tells us stop when we need to stop, but some of us just ignore all of that and feel like we could go ahead and do anything and nothing will happen. And also I feel our society too has played a large role, in the sense that it has kind of given this sense of awareness to a particular gender that you are more superior to another, and so they therefore feel we could do anything and get away with it. Because I remember a few weeks back I saw on Facebook, I think someone raped another person, and he went about bragging that let them do whatever they want to do. He would keep on raping people.
Wow.
Yes. So I feel it's that sense of entitlement. You feel that because I am this gender, I'm superior to this person, I can do whatever I like, this person is beneath me, they do not have a right to say no. I've had some conversations with some people, and they've said sometimes even when the females say no, they really don't mean no. I'm like, what do you mean? No is no. It's English language. If someone says no, it means they are not interested, they don't want it. So I also think it's that sense of entitlement and that sense of superiority.
Wow. Okay. This issue of rape, for me, I want to be in the middle concerning it now. This issue of rape now, when you look at it, is it actually possible, for two adults to rape each other?
To the best of my knowledge, without talking about the medical angle anyway, the best of my knowledge, it's possible for a husband to rape his wife. It's also very possible for the wife to rape the husband. Two consenting adults. Of course, they've lived together, they've known each other. It's 100%, there's a 100% possibility. Because if I say no to my husband and he forces himself on me, that's rape. Same with.
But in our, sorry to cut you, in our tradition, being an African, you know, you hear the men, we say that after I've paid the dowry, I've paid for this, so why you deny me?
Exactly what we are talking about. This is what happens when we are in, like she mentioned earlier, we are in a society that gives credence to a particular gender than the other. Even if you had paid my dowry or my bride price, whatever you had paid on me, doesn't give you the right to treat me in a very insensitive way. I said no, I don't want to have sex today. I've been married for 13 years. So if I say no to my husband, I don't want to have sex today, he doesn't have to force me. If he does, it's rape. Unfortunately, Africans don't look at it that way. If you take such a case to any part of Africa, as a woman, you've lost it. In fact, they'll just, what name would, I'm sure they've seen such cases before. Whatever name they'll call you is. But if it were in a sane country, I'm sorry to say that, I'm not saying Africa is not sane. I'm using a quote now. If it were in a sane country, I have every right to accuse my husband of raping me. And people will say, okay, tell us what happened. When they now base the fact on what happened, they now say, oh, okay, you were wrong, or you were wrong. That's how it is.
So, Barrister Gani, do you agree to that?
Yeah, you know, while she was talking, I was just thinking of the provisions of the law. And, you know, rape is a crime, first of all. And just because somebody had a non-consensual intercourse with a person, spouse or whosoever, does not mean the person has committed rape. All right? A criminal becomes a criminal upon conviction. All right? So be mindful of that fact. And the issue of spousal rape is a whole controversial issue in Nigeria that I'm sure my colleague is very angry about. She was just telling me a story in the UK and her lecturer that she told that spousal rape is not a crime in Nigeria, and the lecturer was like, are you serious? Is this the world we live in? But in Nigeria, you know, we have laws that apply to different parts of the country. So by the provisions of the penal code applicable in the northern part of Nigeria, the criminal laws of Lagos State, there's no provision for spousal rape. All right, so you cannot say, as Madam is trying to explain, you cannot say that your husband has raped you. Unfortunately, I agree with her standpoint on the fact that a woman could be raped by her husband, or a husband could be raped by his wife, but that has to be inculcated into especially the penal code and our penal laws that provide for it in Nigeria, for us to actually criminalize it in the way that it should be criminalized.
So now, if it actually happens, how can you defend yourself?
Well, I will really not be able to answer this question because I think she's in a better position.
How do you think a lady, let me put it that way, a lady now can defend herself?
I don't know where we can start from, because we are talking about rape now. They're not just raping ladies. They're not raping ladies. They're raping kids. They're raping babies, 3 months old. I've had a case of the 3-month-old being raped. They removed her diapers and raped her. I have videos in my phone that if I show you, you faint. Now, it's not just ladies now. What I do to my daughter, she's 7. I started explaining things to her when she was 2. This is vagina. You don't call it pim pim. You don't give it a
don't say it's
name.
bomb.
It's not bomb bomb. Yes, that's a fact. You know why? If you go to court, thank God lawyers are here, and they say he touched my bum bum, nobody will believe. Bum bum means bum bum. Bum means buttocks. But as soon as you pronounce it that it was my vagina he touched, people will know what we are talking about. So the point is, I have a case of a child, a father who gave his child his dick to suck every morning, every time the wife steps out, gives the baby, from the time the baby was, of course, the baby till she was 6. At a point, the woman was like, she now got a CCTV and placed in her house, and then recorded her husband giving her baby his penis to suck. What are we saying? The issue of rape now, when you're talking of protection, what I tell my child is, this is how to protect yourself. They'll tell you, if you tell your father, we'll kill your father, we'll kill your mother, we'll kill your children, your siblings rather.
Yeah.
They tell them all sorts of stories. That is just it. So you start telling them how to defend themselves. Make sure you come back. I even have a quote for my daughter. When I come back, I say, who touched you today? It's not a joke. Did anybody touch you? They touch your breast. They touch your vagina. We mentioned those things to them since the time she was 2. So that is, if you start that, you started protecting that child, because she started getting conscious of the fact that someone can. And now, someone was talking about rape yesterday. I told her, my dear, if you're confronted with a boy of 15, you can't, the boy is 15 years old. It will be so difficult. They said you have extra powers to empower him. So when it has to do with issues of how to protect, it's just what we pray is, may we not come across it. Sometimes just a knife, you're like, instead of me to die, let him have his way. So that's the thing. The protection here is, to me, protection here is avoid any way you think you can get involved in such a thing, if you can. But how can you? Sometimes you just enter a car, you find yourself, you're entering a car from Maraba to Nyanya, you find yourself in Karu. Because they tell you, if you cough, you're finished. So it's just...
Okay, ma'am, thank you for that.
All right, sorry. Madam mentioned some things. I don't know if my colleague would like to emphasize on the provision of the VAPE Act, the Violence Against Persons Act, on penetration issues, and I think it's important because of that.
So the VAPE Act, which is the Violence Against Persons Act, or Prohibition Against Persons Act, literally states, it gives us an expanded view of what rape is. Now, the penal code only says penetration of vagina and all of that, but VAPE Act now says both the anus, both the mouth, both the vagina. So you see, this is a broadened definition. So it houses other things, because prior to the VAPE Act, we had people who, just like we explained, will do that to their kids, and the law doesn't hold them accountable because it doesn't provide for it. But as a result of the VAPE Act, it provides for it. And also with the Children's Rights Act, it also gives an advanced, would I say, protection for kids. Now, protection for kids doesn't only mean female. It now encompasses male too. But we see with penal code, with criminal code,
It was just a female.
all it says is female. So meaning, if you're a man who says I was raped, the law doesn't cover you.
Okay, Barrister Gladys, a rape victim, how can such persons fight for justice appropriately?
Okay, so the good thing is civil societies are springing up, just like Madam. Now we have loads of them. And we also have the International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA, which is an international organization. And FIDA has branches in almost every country across the globe. And it has branches in about, not up to like 20 states in Nigeria.
Yes.
And it has hotlines. So you could pick up your phone and call, or you could go straight to them. And the good thing with FIDA is, if you're an indigent person, meaning you cannot afford legal fees, they could do it for you pro bono, free of charge. So that's like a very good platform. And sometimes these non-governmental organizations could actually link victims to FIDA, which is like a good standpoint. So all that is needed for a victim is to speak up, which of course we need to create more awareness on that, because what we find in our society is that people are raped and they keep quiet. Why? Because of the stereotype. There is usually this stigma that is attached to a rape victim. I've been at a police station before, and a rape victim came in, and then she complained, and guess what the police officers told her? Madam, I'm sure it was your fault. Maybe you were dressed in a very skimpy way, or you were trying to seduce him. For crying out loud, we are all adults. We should be able to control ourselves. And if someone comes to the police station because they feel like the police is the last resort, and then the police gives her that kind of explanation, it's a little bit heartbreaking and discouraging, to say the least. And it would deter others from going to the police because they'll feel like, I do not want to be treated in that way, so I'd rather keep quiet than to be stigmatized.
Yeah, Barrister Gani, what does the law of Nigeria say concerning rapists, and what is the punishment?
Wow, thank you for that question. Rape is a very heinous crime, a very wicked one at that. And I think our law, especially with the introduction of the Violence Against Persons Act that my colleague just talked about, is quite innovative and progressive. You know, from the provisions you can tell. You know, the punishment for rape under the Violence Against Persons Act, the Child's Rights Act, and the Criminal Code is life imprisonment. All right. So if you are found culpable for the offense of rape, you will be sentenced to life imprisonment. The Violence Against Persons Act also went ahead to talk about gang rape, issues of gang rape, also issues of rape by underage, you know, people that are underage, but they are able to rape, you know, it made provisions for that, you know, and also stipulated punishment of up to 14 years imprisonment for child rapists, you know, and also 21 years minimum for gang rape. All these provisions were not in the traditional penal laws, but we have them now. And just as my colleague also said, the rape under the Child's Rights Act is what is called a strict liability offense. All right, what does that mean? It means the law does not look at the child. The law just looks at the rapist. All right, the valiant. So, and this is what it provides for. If a child consents, that's the simple way I used to interpret it. If a child consents, do not rape the child. If the child does not consent, do not rape the child. Because if you rape the child, whether the child consents or not, and by section, is it 121 of the Child's Rights Act, a child is deemed to have attained majority upon attainment of the age of 18. So any person that is under 18 years of age, whether the person wants to, you know, have sexual intercourse or don't want to have, and you have sexual intercourse with the person, you will be said to be raped if you are tried. All right, so that's the punishment as stipulated by our laws.
Okay. So what do you say on jungle justice for rapists?
Well, you know,
the reason why I asked that question concerning what Barrister Glady said, concerning what happened in the police station. When that happens often, you know what people will begin to think.
Definitely.
So they will, okay, instead of us going to the police station, I think maybe we should just do. So what do you say about that?
I would like to start by saying that let's examine the attitude of the courts. All right, the attitude of our legislature, the attitude of our government towards that, before we get angry to the point of jungle justice. All right, states like Lagos have gone ahead to create a special offenses court, you know, that tries sexual offenses alone. They have gone ahead to pass the Vape Act to domesticate it. Some states have made a lot of efforts in passing the Vape Act, domesticating the Child's Rights Act. So I don't think it would be fair for us to go ahead with jungle justice. The funny thing about jungle justice is this: you call it jungle justice, but the law sees it as a crime. So by the time I am assaulting you because you have committed rape, by the time I am trying to burn you up, you know, by putting tire on you and fire, the way Nigerians do, you know, I will be culpable for what's it called, murder or homicide or whatsoever.
And what
if
if you're innocent?
Yes,
I think an innocent person.
exactly, and that's even another
that,
exactly. An innocent passerby could be picked. We all know the way Nigerian police work. So I would say no to jungle justice. It's rather taking us back to where we were. So no to jungle justice.
Okay. So now let me put this question to you: how do you think we can curb the issue of rape?
That's a tall question. It is becoming shameful. Statistically, Nigeria overtook India in open defecation October 1st, 2019, open defecation all over the place. Nigeria overtook India, as populous as India is. And now India also has the majority of rape cases in the world. But if Nigeria continues with this pace, very soon we'll also win. Because we like winning. And we don't win the good ones, we win the bad ones.
Negative ones.
Now, 717 cases were reported between January and March. I'm sorry, January, February, March, April, May, 5 months, according to the police IG. 717 reported cases of rape. That was reported. The unreported in plenty. Sorry, I'm speaking pidgin. It's good. It's all good. Last week, I was called to. A little girl was raped by the man was about 30, 35 or thereabout. And what happened? The mother said they should not let the father know that her daughter was raped. Reason, she doesn't want to lose her marriage. So that child, 5 years old, starts, I don't know, the psychological effect is a different ballgame entirely. Now, another boy, the mother noticed that the boy was not working well, was asking the boy what happened. The boy said nothing is wrong with him. So at night, the mother now went to check, opened his buttocks, and maggot was coming out. A neighbor had been raping that child. They moved to another house. The neighbor still comes to pick him up as a friendly person that takes him out, buys things for him. They are his friends. Maggot was coming out of his anus. Now, the problem I'm having is, if they say it's women that are indecently dressed, that are being raped, I would then ask, what happens to these children? At what point did it get to children? So, thinking of how to curb rape in Nigeria is in fact, let me even tell you, lockdown has even escalated it. Yes, UN reported that 20% of domestic violence and rape was during lockdown. And have you ever heard of rape cases? I know it was happening in Nigeria. Did you hear of rape cases until when we started having lockdown issues? There's no day I don't receive at least 10, 15, 20 calls on rape cases. Sometimes, maybe one case, 5 persons will call me. But sometimes it's just separate. They'll call you and like, my head is spinning. So what are we saying here? I don't know how we are going to curb it, but it is time for us to start training our children aright. Mothers, train your, especially sons, boys, girls, the same thing. Women pay more attention to their female children than their sons, and it is very sad because you think he's a woman. No, she has to be married as a virgin. It doesn't follow. I know a friend that her sister will take they were best friends. She was around 15, sister was around 13, 14, 4 years old. She will take her out, buy her ice cream and everything. When she comes back, she opens her vagina and allows the little sister to suck. That is the thing she does to the sister too. So what we are saying is, we need to train our children right. I think we should start from the grassroots. Value orientation is what we need now, because the society has failed us. You're talking about the police. If I tell you that one, a big grammar. They failed us. The law courts have failed us too. So this Robert Ludlum says, if you can't buy a judge, stay out of the courtroom. Right now, celebrities are being slammed on rape cases. It will never hold. They'll just close it. That will be the end of the drama.
Well, I'm sorry to cut today because of our time. Yeah. Barrister Gladys, when do you think is the right time for you to report a rape case? Because the issue of the way we get reports is kind of controversial now. So
After 10 years.
like some people will come after 10 years, after 5 years to come and report that this person raped me. So when is the right time for you to report a rape case?
For me, although our law doesn't specifically state, but I would advise immediately. Of course, after going to the hospital and getting the whole medical examination, because you will need those documents to tender in court in case you want to take the case further. But immediately, do not let it slip by, just immediately.
Okay, yeah. So the last question I'll be asking everyone is just to share your advice to the viewers out there concerning the issue of rape. For those who are having intention of raping someone, please help me to give them the warning. Barrister Gani.
All right, so my last words will be that, of course, rape is a very heinous crime. It's, something that is very unfortunate that we are talking about and that is increasing in Nigeria, as Madam has said. I will advise for immediate reporting, which is related to your last question, even for the sake of the health of the victim. The right place to always report first is to the police or to NAPTIP, as it were, or to NGOs and civil society organizations that we've mentioned. But if they are not proactive, please quickly take the victim to the hospital for medical attention. All right? Then the other procedures can follow later. And then don't keep quiet. Speak up. Speak up. Speak up. When one is faced with issues like this or is aware of issues like this, please speak up.
So, Barrister, how about to the rapist itself, those having the intention?
If you're having the intention, please get rid of it. Get rid of it in the sense that for you it might be a 5 minutes of pleasure, but for that victim, you've ruined the person's life in the sense that the psychological effect would haunt them for decades, if not for a lifetime. It would hinder their interaction with other people. It creates an unsafe environment. It breeds bitter people in the sense that a rape victim, it's always on the edge. They're always suspicious of every move around them. And that is not the kind of society we want to raise. That's not the kind of society we want to raise the next generation. So please, if you have the intention, get rid of it and control yourselves. We are not animals. Even animals control themselves.
Okay, Ma, your last advice.
Well, my last advice is to society as a whole. Please be mindful of your words. Watch your children. Watch your neighbors. And like she said, try to report the case immediately. I know there's stigmatization, I know there's shame, family shame, this and that. Please, I beg you, see what you can do to control your urge. If you cannot stay alone, get married. Because the psychological effect on rape is the worst thing that happens to any person that has been raped. I've heard from men, I've heard from women. They've carried it all their lives. If there's anything you can do, please do that to stop. And I also advise the government, I beg you, there should be something speedily done about rapists. Okay. If we now see the rapist being punished, someone will start thinking twice before he goes on raping adventure.
Wow. Yeah, it's been an amazing time with everyone. On the show today, we have two barristers and we have an activist also on the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we draw the curtain of today's program. You've heard about rape. Please, if you have intention to rape somebody, please try to hold yourself. In fact, if possible, go to the bathroom and go and take a shower. And if you've been raped, please don't wait. Just go straight to go and make your report so that you can get the appropriate justice. Thank you very much for today. Stay tuned to watch the other episode. Thank you.